Let's get right into it. Number 10. Roman concrete. Modern concrete holds up roads, bridges, towers, and dams. It also cracks, lets water inside, corrodes its reinforcing steel, and creates repair bills large enough to ruin somebody's week. Ancient Roman concrete had a different approach. It simply refused to die. The Pantheon's enormous unreinforced dome has survived for nearly 2,000 years, while Roman seawalls continue enduring saltwater, waves, and storms. Researchers long believed volcanic ash was the main secret, but another detail has emerged. Roman builders appear to have used hot mixing, combining quicklime with volcanic material and water at high temperatures. This left small white pieces called lime clasts inside the concrete. For years, researchers dismissed them as evidence that Roman workers had mixed the material badly. It turns out the supposed mistakes may have been the clever part. When cracks formed and water entered, the lime reacted and produced minerals that filled the damage. The concrete effectively repaired itself. Scientists have now created Roman-inspired mixtures that demonstrate this ability, but reproducing the exact regional materials, recipes, and durability on the same scale remains difficult. The Romans had no computer modeling or modern factories. They had volcanic ash, hot lime, and structures designed to outlive their builders. Number 9. Damascus steel. For centuries, Damascus steel blades were admired for their sharp edges, strength, and flowing patterns that looked like water trapped inside metal. Legends claimed they could cut falling silk and slice through other swords without losing their edge. Some of that was probably medieval advertising, but the surviving blades are genuinely remarkable. They were commonly forged from wootz steel produced in India and Sri Lanka, then traded to workshops across the Middle East. Swordsmiths carefully heated, cooled, and hammered the steel so its internal structure created the famous pattern. Then the tradition disappeared. Changing trade routes, the loss of particular ore sources, and the death of specialist knowledge may all have contributed. Modern researchers have found trace elements such as vanadium in some blades, and one study reported structures resembling carbon nanotubes, but there was probably no single magical ingredient. The result depended on the ore, its impurities, the carbon level, the furnace, the temperature, and the judgment of a smith who knew when the metal was ready without checking a digital display. Modern steel can outperform historical Damascus blades, and modern smiths can reproduce similar patterns. What remains lost is the precise historical method behind the finest originals. We can make stronger steel. We just cannot ask the original swordsmith where every hammer strike belonged. Number 8. Ulfberht swords. Between the 9th and 11th centuries, unusually advanced swords appeared across Viking Europe. Their blades carried versions of the name Ulfberht, usually marked between crosses. More than 100 examples have been found, although not all were equal. Some were exceptional, others were medieval counterfeits, proving fake luxury branding existed long before online shopping. The finest Ulfberht swords contained remarkably pure, high-carbon crucible steel. Producing it required temperatures high enough to melt iron and remove many impurities, something European bloomery furnaces generally could not do at the time. Comparable steel was being produced much farther east, particularly in Central and South Asia. That creates the mystery. Did Viking traders obtain steel ingots along routes running down the Volga toward the Islamic world? Were finished blades imported and completed in Europe? Was Ulfberht one workshop, a family, a religious phrase, or simply the most copied name in the medieval sword business? We can analyze the steel and build excellent replicas, but the original supply network, workshop practices, and identities behind the finest blades remain unclear. Somewhere between Scandinavia and Central Asia was a medieval supply chain delivering premium steel to Viking warriors. Apparently, even history's most feared raiders understood imported materials and convincing branding. Number 7. Flexible glass. Ancient Rome may have possessed one of history's greatest materials, or one emperor may have executed a man over an object that never existed. According to Petronius, an inventor presented Emperor Tiberius with a transparent drinking vessel. Tiberius threw it onto the floor. Instead of shattering, it dented. The inventor picked it up and repaired the damage with a small hammer. Tiberius asked whether anyone else knew the secret. When the inventor said no, the emperor reportedly ordered his execution and destroyed the workshop, supposedly because flexible glass could reduce the value of gold and silver. This is the kind of decision that makes you wonder whether emperors were selected through a process involving adults. Pliny the Elder also mentioned the story, but warned that it was widely repeated and poorly authenticated. Flexible glass may never have existed. Modern manufacturers can create thin glass that bends, toughened glass that survives impacts, and glass ceramics with extraordinary strength. But a thick bowl that dents like metal and can be hammered back into shape is another matter. Perhaps a Roman artisan discovered something extraordinary and took the secret to his grave. Perhaps the whole story was ancient science fiction. Either way, the technology was lost so completely that we cannot even confirm there was technology to lose. Before we continue, a quick request. Researching these stories properly means separating genuine lost technologies from legends, exaggerated claims, modern misunderstandings, and ancient writers who occasionally treated "a man told me" as reliable evidence. That takes a genuinely ridiculous amount of time. And the only reason this channel can keep producing videos like this is if the people who watch this far also hit the subscribe button. Not a comment, not a share, just that button, right now. Okay, back to the inventions humanity somehow forgot. Number 6. Stradivarius violins. Antonio Stradivari made violins in Cremona during the late 17th and early 18th centuries. More than 300 years later, musicians, collectors, and scientists are still arguing about what made them special. Individual Stradivarius instruments have sold for millions, and performers describe some as unusually rich, powerful, and responsive. Theories have blamed the varnish, body shape, mineral treatments, wood preservatives, fungi, and even the climate. One popular idea suggests that trees growing during the cooler Little Ice Age produced unusually dense or uniform wood. Researchers have scanned the instruments, measured their vibrations, and analyzed tiny varnish samples. Every few years, a headline announces that someone has solved the mystery. Then another study arrives and politely ruins the celebration. Blind tests have sometimes found that professional musicians prefer modern violins or cannot reliably distinguish them from old Italian instruments. That does not make Stradivari's reputation imaginary. His finest instruments combine remarkable craftsmanship, centuries of careful maintenance, and individual acoustic qualities that are difficult to copy exactly. A violin is not one formula. It is particular wood, carved by one person, coated, assembled, played, repaired, and aged for 3 centuries. We can copy the measurements and analyze the varnish. What we cannot do is give a new violin 300 years of history before next Tuesday's concert. Number 5. The Antikythera mechanism. In 1901, divers exploring a shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera recovered a corroded bronze lump that looked almost useless. Inside it were gears, many gears. The object was a mechanical astronomical calculator, built more than 2,000 years ago. The Antikythera mechanism used complex gear trains to model the sun and moon, display calendar cycles, predict eclipses, and possibly track the visible planets. Its rear dials followed cycles such as the 19-year Metonic cycle and the Saros eclipse cycle. An ingenious pin-and-slot system reproduced variations in the moon's motion. This was not a decorative clock. It was a handheld model of the cosmos, operated by turning a crank. Nothing with comparable mechanical complexity survives from the ancient world, and similar machines would not appear again for centuries. Modern X-ray imaging has revealed inscriptions and hidden gears, allowing researchers to construct working replicas. But only part of the original survives. Major sections, including much of the front display, are missing, so every reconstruction includes educated guesses. We do not know exactly who designed it, which workshop built it, or whether it was unique. We can create versions that function. What we cannot recreate with certainty is the complete original machine, because the ancient instruction manual apparently went down with the ship. Number 4. The Baghdad Battery. In the 1930s, excavations near Baghdad uncovered a clay jar containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod separated by asphalt. Researchers later discovered that, when filled with an acidic liquid such as vinegar, the object could generate a weak electrical current. Suddenly, the ancient world appeared to have invented the battery long before Alessandro Volta. Replicas have produced small voltages, inspiring theories that the jars were used for electroplating, medical treatment, religious ceremonies, or secret electrical demonstrations. There is one irritating problem. No convincing archaeological evidence proves anyone used them as batteries. No wires were found, and no clearly electroplated objects were linked to them. Similar containers may have held ritual scrolls. The electrical effect might be accidental, like discovering your soup bowl can technically function as laboratory equipment. The original artifacts were reportedly lost or displaced after the Iraq Museum was looted in 2003, making further study harder. We can recreate the jar. We can fill it with vinegar and produce voltage. What we cannot recreate is its purpose. The Baghdad battery may represent forgotten electrical knowledge, a ritual container, or the world's most overqualified storage jar. The object is easy to reproduce. The intention behind it has completely disappeared. Number 3. The Roman dodecahedron. Across former Roman territories, archaeologists have found more than 100 hollow bronze objects shaped like 12-sided dice. Each face contains a different-sized circular opening, and small knobs sit on the corners. They date mainly from the 2nd to 4th centuries, and the Romans left no useful explanation. No surviving text names them. No clear image shows one being used. They have been found in military camps, graves, temples, baths, theaters, and settlements, which is archaeology's way of saying they could have been almost anything. Suggested uses include candle holders, surveying tools, rangefinders, calendars, religious objects, gambling devices, pipe fittings, and coin measuring instruments. One popular theory claims they were used to knit gloves, with wool wrapped around the knobs and fingers formed through the holes. The problem is that there is no evidence Romans knitted gloves this way. Modern metalworkers can cast replicas easily enough. The lost technology is not how they were manufactured. It is knowing what everyone was manufacturing them for. The Romans produced the same complicated object across Europe for centuries and somehow failed to leave one sentence beginning with, "This is a dodecahedron, and here is what you do with it." Number 2. Greek fire. Greek fire was the terrifying naval weapon of the Byzantine Empire. Historical accounts describe a burning liquid projected through pressurized siphons onto enemy ships. It could continue burning on water, cling to surfaces, and cause panic before reaching its target. The weapon is traditionally associated with Kallinikos, an engineer who arrived in Constantinople during the 7th century, although incendiary mixtures existed earlier. Greek fire helped defend the Byzantine capital during major sieges, and became so important that its production was treated as a state secret. The formula may have included petroleum, resin, sulfur, or other ingredients, but nobody knows the exact combination. Quicklime is often suggested because it reacts with water and releases heat, although historians debate whether it was actually included. The delivery system may have been as important as the fuel. The Byzantines needed storage containers, pumps, heated materials, bronze siphons, trained operators, and ships capable of using the weapon without setting themselves on fire, which seems like a useful design feature. Knowledge was probably divided among specialists, so no single worker knew the entire system. Modern chemistry can create many liquids that burn on water, including weapons far more destructive than Greek fire. What remains lost is the exact Byzantine formula and delivery process. We can recreate the nightmare, we just cannot guarantee it is the same nightmare. Number 1. The Apollo-era technology we left behind. This entry is different because the technology is not ancient. It belongs to the same civilization currently carrying smartphones. The Apollo program placed humans on the moon using the Saturn V rocket, command module, lunar module, enormous ground systems, and software running on computers weaker than many modern household devices. Then the program ended, production lines closed, suppliers moved on, engineers retired, specialized tools disappeared. Documentation was scattered across thousands of reports, drawings, tapes, and contractor archives. Some data was stored on formats that later became difficult to read, and original Apollo 11 television tapes were erased and reused. This created the popular claim that NASA lost the blueprints and can no longer build the Saturn V. That is not completely accurate. Large amounts of documentation survive, and modern engineers understand the physics. But rebuilding the exact rocket would mean recreating an industrial ecosystem that no longer exists. Companies changed or disappeared. Materials and processes would no longer meet modern safety or environmental rules. Engineers carried practical knowledge that was never fully captured on paper. We can build modern heavy-lift rockets, and we have. What we cannot do easily is restart 1969 by opening one filing cabinet. Apollo was not one machine. It was a temporary civilization built around one goal. Humanity did not forget how to reach the moon. We forgot how to do it exactly the way we did before. 10 technologies, objects, and engineering traditions whose complete secrets disappeared. Some can be reproduced approximately. Some are understood scientifically but not historically. Some may never have existed as the legends describe. And one is a bronze object the Romans apparently scattered across Europe specifically to annoy future archaeologists. Which lost technology would you bring back first? Roman concrete that repairs itself? The precise craft behind Damascus steel? The complete Antikythera mechanism? Or the original formula for Greek fire? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.